There's only one thing that's running through my soul, and that is
Welcome to Crimson Dynasty. Welcome back. I'm your host, C'Chi, and we are one of the shows here on the Bama Standard Network. We were having a good conversation before this, so that's why I'm kind of smiling. But we have a lot to talk about tonight, so I won't spend too much time. But if you are watching us on X right now, be sure to head over to YouTube and search the Bama Standard Network so that you can engage in our live chat. And also be sure to subscribe and go ahead and hit that like button so we can push this video out, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about now. Before we get started, I do want to just welcome you, and then also our co-hosts JB and Dan James IV. You know, they always have a lot of content, a lot of information to share with y'all. So we have a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff pertaining to recruiting. So good news, a lot of visits coming up. But before we jump right in, I do want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Lamstone Company. We always tell you that if you've been looking to add a beautiful natural stone in or around your home, don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Lamstone Company's natural selection of products to meet all your project needs. They're located in Oneonta, Alabama, and they're one of the oldest, most trusted sources in the state. So make sure you contact them and use promo code the Bama Standard to receive 10% off of your first order. So shout out to them. But let's just jump right into it. So recently, we had two former Alabama players, one in particular who, I'm sure a lot of us are aware of, but there was another one who was recently inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Now, there were a total of 8 players, but 2 in particular that were from the University of Alabama. Of course, one is the one and only Mark Ingram, the greatest, of course, originally from New Jersey, but he played on our 2009 and 2011 national championship team. I mean, he went completely off. He was also named to the all SEC freshman team his first season. Of course, he won the Heisman Trophy in 2009. He was actually the first Alabama player to win the Heisman as a sophomore. And he also was the offensive MVP of the 2009 championship game when we beat Texas. And he was drafted in the first round, I believe, pick 28 or something like that, to the New Orleans Saints, of course. And he played a total of 12 seasons in the NFL, had over 10,000 yards. He just went completely off. So shout out to him. He's one of our former players that was inducted. But then we also have someone who may kind of fly under the radar. She was well before most of our time, but her name was Roberta Allison Baumgartner. And you may recognize her name because she was a tennis superstar. I mean, she did her thing. She played for Alabama in the 60s, and technically women's tennis was not added to the SEC till about almost 20 or roughly 20 years after she played at Alabama. So she was basically competing on our men's tennis team, and she was so good. She started really early, and she won I think she was like 7 or 8 when she first started playing, and she won a lot of junior tournaments. I mean, she really did her thing. And even after that, she competed in a lot of championships, and so they named our tennis facility, I believe, the indoor facility, after her. And then every year they have an annual Roberta Allison Fall Tennis Classic. So she was truly a trailblazer, and I want to shout her out. But I want to get y'all's takes on this because, like I said, someone like Roberta kind of flies under the radar. Unfortunately, she passed away maybe about 15 years ago, something around there, 20 years ago. But she really was a trailblazer at Alabama. So I'll kick it off with you, JB, first. What are your thoughts on this? It's very prestigious for our modern era with Mark Ingram, but then you can't forget about the ones who open the doors for others like Roberta. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, big up to you for digging in the crates on that one right there for the tennis.
I had to, yeah. Because I'm like, surely we didn't just have one. Like, right. It couldn't have just been one.
So that's a good look. I mean, it's always good when we can pay our respects to the people before us, to make things happen. And sometimes people get in the Hall of Fame way after their time. She should have probably been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. But I don't know the selection process, but whatever they do to do it, it's got to be some kind of criteria. Yeah. But a lot of people get left out and they get inducted far long before they should have been inducted. After. But On Mark Ingram, great. I already knew this was going to happen. He's retired from football. He has a great career. Well, I think he's on Fox, right?
Yeah, and what else? I feel like he's gonna be on some other stuff.
Yeah. But I see him on Fox. I know I've seen him on Fox this past football season, and he does a great job at what he's doing. But he was great on the field, man. Our first Heisman Trophy winner. That's hard to believe. Shouts out to Tough as Nails. Hard to believe that. All the great players that played for Alabama, and our first Heisman Trophy winner was Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Right? But that just goes to show you that he is, if you got to put him on the Mount Rushmore, the running back, so whatever you got to do as far as Alabama, Mark Ingram deserves to be on that list, and he deserves to be in this Hall of Fame. So, I mean, all I can say about that is congratulations, and, we're going to get some more guys in there pretty soon, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so too. It's just a matter of time. Okay, and then Dan, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about this? I mean, like JB was saying, a lot of times it's so people. It just seems like people wait so late to give people their flowers, which is why it matters so much that even Coach Saban being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame later this year, is so important. But what are your thoughts?
Yes, and y'all, chat. Everyone watching, this is information that you can only get from the Crimson Dynasty.
I mean,
no other information like that you would get anywhere else. So as far as all things Alabama, this is the most complete show on any network when it comes to all things Alabama.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, like you said, going back and acknowledging greatness, which she was great during her time, and so it's a shame that like you say, you give someone flowers after they're gone, but we still want to celebrate her greatness. As far as Mark Ingram, man, we say a lot of things about Mark Ingram as far as him being on the Mount Rushmore, but let me tell you what, he is the guy, unquestionably. He is the ambassador for Alabama, man. He was the first guy to host SEC Takeover on the SEC network. He was the whole Alabama day. He did a tremendous job. King Gump, I think he's the biggest Gump of all former players, man. Great guy, great representative of the University of Alabama. You think about all the things he went through with his dad, the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
And that was so ratchet. Like, why? And it's crazy because we all still remember that.
Yes. I mean, yes, and they tried to ruin his moment, talking about that. But Mark, man, and 12 years in the NFL as a running back.
As a running back, yeah.
A lot of great running backs never made it to the third contract. You know what I'm saying? And for him to stick around, and carve out his niche in the NFL, and he not just that, he was a mentor to like younger guys like Alvin Kamara, guys like that, so he brought a lot to the team. He was a great captain, of the team, and so it's great that at this young age, what I'm saying, that he's able to get his flowers, and by being recognized for the excellence, cause he kind of built he was a key foundation in the Saban dynasty. You always think about when it started. It started with the Mark Ingram class, and so it's a tremendous accomplishment, and we continue to just see greatness coming from the University of Alabama.
And it's interesting that you use that word, because as I was reading about Roberta, that's the only word I kept thinking about is greatness. Like, there is no other, especially when you consider just whatever odds, especially with her being a woman and then not having women's tennis in the SEC at that time. And I remember the coach at that time was the one that had to talk her into, it's just it's so many layers. So y'all have to research her, because a lot of times you'll see names on buildings, but that's a part of legacy, right? And so when you see those names, go and research them, and you'll kind of learn about, like, okay, well, what did they do at Alabama while they were there? But shout out to both of them. And then we will have our Q&A session towards the end, so be sure to drop your comments in. But let's go ahead and move on, because we love to talk about football here. I do appreciate what you said, Dan, about us being more comprehensive, where we talk about not just football. So we do like to hit, and we'll talk about other sports towards the end. But but these next 15 to 20 minutes are going to be about football. So we wanted to kind of talk about some of the official visits that are coming up soon, and then also the latest updates in terms of recruiting. Drop in the chat your thoughts on some of these guys as we talk about them. There's a couple of them in particular that I wanted to mention. So I know that we were recently listed in the top 6 schools for class of 2026 linebacker Malik Morris. He's out of Florida, highly rated. He's a top 10 linebacker. So, we'll see what happens with that. But then we're also trying to flip. Now, this is going to be somebody that we may want to get like for real. We're trying to flip running back Javian Mallory from Miami. Now he's of course originally from Florida, but recently our GM, of course, Courtney Morgan, Coach Gillespie, all of them, they made an in-home visit to him, and he really did his thing. Over 3,000 rushing yards, over 750 receiving yards, almost 40 touchdowns. I mean, this guy, he's elite, and I want to get y'all's takes in a minute, because there was a couple other names that I wanted to mention. We're talking about class of 2026. There's a guy that I recently heard of. I want to say maybe even today, class of 2027. He's a wide receiver. Awesome guy. Moshawn Sales, 6'5", 195 pounds. He's someone that I think can fit into our scheme, into our system. I think he's someone that Jamarcus Shepard is going to like. And so we made him an offer. He's originally from Indiana. He was actually listed as one of the top wide receivers of the 2027 class, averages about 20 yards per carry, had over 600 receiving yards last year. And one thing to note about him, he said that he had a really great conversation with Coach Shepard. He said that he feels blessed to have received an offer from Alabama. And he said that growing up, Alabama was always his dream school. So just keep that in mind. I know this class of 2027, we only have 2 commits so far for that class, but someone like him, I can see us going after him. But before I move forward, and then one other guy that I want to mention, we're going to talk about visits, but it's one guy, because I know that one of the guys that we were talking about, the running back Jonas, he did announce today that he was committing to Notre Dame. And so of course some people are kind of like, well, where does that leave Alabama? Well, and I know that Dan, you're going to go into more detail about this. We do have a 5-star running back, Derrek Cooper, and he's from Florida, 6'1", 205 pounds, and he is visiting Alabama the weekend of June 9th, and he is actually one of the top running backs in the nation. Well, I think one of the top 3 actually. Coach Shabor, Coach Morgan, or Courtney Morgan, Coach Sheridan, all of them, they visited him, I believe, back in January. And he was basically telling On3 in an interview that whatever school he decides to go to, essentially it's going to have to be the right fit, but not just that. He wants to go somewhere where he can, basically play right away. And so that's going to be key when it comes to wherever he commits. But Dan, I'm going to kick it off to you first. Out of the guys that I mentioned so far, I know I didn't touch yet on the 14 guys that are visiting the last weekend in May, but I wanted to mention Derek first, who's visiting in June, and then also the other guys that I mentioned.
Yes. Let me tell you, like I told you before, the running back recruiting board, it starts with Xavier Crowell. Mm-hmm. So that was priority number 1 for Alabama. Then, after that, there's a pecking order. You get him, then you try to be selective with, making sure with the fit. And one thing about the guys that we're all targeting, I've noticed is eerily, strikingly similar is the size and weight. All of them are within the 5'11" to 195, 200 pound range. So they're looking for that build of a running back. So Javian Mallory. Let me tell you another thing about the people that don't really follow recruiting. The big thing is you want to follow the visit. You don't want to follow what recruiting, what people tweet out or whatever. Yeah. You want to follow the visits when it comes to recruiting. You want to see who Alabama is going to see when they're out on the road. So for Courtney Morgan, Robert Gillespie, it's been one thing for him to just show up. He's a running back coach, to go and visit. But when you bring in Courtney Morgan in with you, that means you are a serious target. Yeah. So, for him, they went to see 2 running backs yesterday, Derrek Cooper and Javian Mallory, so that tells you, that they are serious, guys that they're serious about targeting. So, I expect Alabama to take 2 running backs. They will take 3. If both of them say, we get Xavier Crowell and both of them say you're not going to turn down elite talent, so
Exactly.
they will take 3, but it'll have to be guys like that, so and more breaking news, you didn't mention it, but it happened within the last couple of hours. Breaking news when it comes to significant Alabama recruiting information is, one of our big prime targets just reopened his commitment, and that's Xavier Griffin, 5-star linebacker that was committed to USC.
Yeah.
School, and he's teammates with one of our commits, Jamarian Matthews.
Yep.
This is somebody that Alabama went to see twice. I've probably seen him, 3 or 4 times over the spring. So this is somebody that they've been chipping away. He committed to USC early, and now he has set an official visit, for June the 6th. Y'all circle that weekend. It's gonna be huge. That's when recruiting. That's when you're gonna see a lot of Dan James.
Yeah.
After that June 6th weekend, it's gonna really ramp up. We're gonna have great guys on campus. So, that's very significant news. And he set for official visit. And, one of the schools that everybody said he was a shoe-in for, they got left off the official visit list, the early one, and that's Georgia, who they thought would be the biggest thing, the biggest team to look out for if he reopened his commitment. But he set visits, and he set Alabama as one of the 4, and so that's some very significant recruiting news. But getting back to the running back, we're gonna follow throughout the spring. The coaches they got other visits they're gonna be taking, so I'm interested to see who they're going to see. So but it starts with you go and see Derrek Cooper, Javian Mallory, those elite of the elite, what I'm saying? So it's really starting to get interesting. Then the board's gonna start taking shape by summer, So spring is evaluation. Then you're gonna start shuffling the board come summertime, and so that's something, y'all just stay in tune to the Bama Standard Network for that kind of information.
Yeah, and I can definitely see Mallory. I can see us flipping him for Miami. I mean, you look at Isaiah Horton, right? You get someone like Isaiah Horton out of the portal, someone that was very productive while he was at Miami last year, had a huge game against Georgia Tech. And even though I think they did lose that game, but he had a good game. So, I think that all things in perspective, I could definitely see us flipping him. Well, JB, what are your thoughts on some of the guys I named? You have Javian Mallory that's currently committed to Miami. Do you feel like we can flip them? You have Derrek Cooper visiting around the 9th of June. How do you feel about these guys?
Well, I feel good now that I heard from Dan, the lead recruiting analyst. And you're absolutely right, Dan. If we can get both of those running backs, both of those studs, why not? You go for the big fishes first, right? You try to get what you can get. Xavier Crowell is one of the guys we've been talking about for months. Right. Hopefully we can lock him in. He changed his commitment date from, I think it was going to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, after early Saturday, it was going to be afterward, but he moved it. It's going to happen sometime during the summer.
And I've seen a lot of elephants on his social media. He posts a lot of Alabama. So it seems like he seems to be locked in, but it's nothing for certain until he makes the announcement. And you put pen to paper on signing day. In my opinion, that's when that's when you do it. But I'm very intrigued, and I don't get excited about 2027, 2 years ahead, guys. But this Moshawn Sales guy, I'm intrigued by him. 6'5", 205.
That's what I said.
5-star. Yeah. Man. And I looked at his it was something he said. I think you mentioned this, C'Chi, about Alabama was a dream of him as a kid and wanted to come to Alabama. We need guys like that. I mean, this NIL era, this transfer portal era. I mean, it's all good if you can, purchase some players or whatever to get them to come on campus and play for a year or compete for a championship. Yes, because that's what's going on. They're not staying. So, but if you can get some guys locked in who loves Alabama, who, man, it was a dream as a little kid, and you get some of those guys that turn out to be studs and they can stay for 3-4 years. I mean, that's more like it was when we were winning championships and 09 20, through 09 through that whole same era. Yes,
Yeah.
you know, and we talked about this on Sunday Night Talking Bama. Julio Jones being the most important recruit that we've had in the same era. He kind of started this thing off, getting him locked in. And, you know, you think about all the greats we've had at Bama from that era. They stayed. They stayed 3 years, went to the NFL, 4 years. They go to the NFL. We got some other guys to come in, some like Josh Jacobs. I watched his interview. Josh Jacobs was on the pivot. And he was talking about as a 3-star. He's one of the last guys to sign on. He was one of the last guys to sign on. I think on the recruiting trip, he said the recruit was looking at somebody else. And then they looked at Josh Jacobs last. And he ended up signing with Bama, worked his ass off, and became a first-round pick in the NFL and a great player. So, I mean, 3 stars ain't nothing wrong with that. If you're a 3-star and you come in and you put in the work, you can make it. You can become a first-round pick and go to the NFL and be great like Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, these kids, man, like we say, these 5-star kids, they get a lot. There's a lot of people after them. A lot of people after them. But I want some guys that bleed that crimson. Right? Yeah. They bleed that crimson. They really want to be here. Those the ones I'm looking for. You know, it's all good. I mean, we got to fill up. You got to fill out a roster. You want to get the best of the best. But if we don't get the best of the best, let's get some of those dogs, some of those hungry guys who want to play for the script A, not just for the pay.
And like you said,
baby, you got me pumped up.
And like you said, it's something about when they make those type of comments that where when they were young, they always dreamt of going, playing at Alabama. You have guys like Jam Miller. If I remember correctly, when the portal opened in December, I believe it was December, and different guys hit the portal, and he was basically saying, I mean, like that one none that I thought of, you know what I mean? Like it's some guys where they wanted to come to Alabama and it wasn't just about Coach Saban or NIL, but I do believe that one of the ways that they're going to that they could fix what's happening with these guys where they'll go to a school for 1 year for the NIL, then jump to another school, that buyout clause. And that's what we're seeing, with Madden, Iamaleava that was at Arkansas, the same thing that's happening now legally with him. I think that may be a way if they start enforcing that, because a lot of them aren't reading the fine print anyway. If they start enforcing that, they're going to see some of these guys, they're not going to be moved. It's not going to be so fluid like that where they're just jumping around. But there are some other guys that I want to mention because we have a visit this weekend, actually, 4-star wide receiver Caden Dixon-Wyatt. That's the guy who attends Mater Dei, recently committed to Ohio State, but, that's someone else that possibly we could flip. Who knows? I mean, Ohio State, they like to drop the bag on guys, so we'll see about that. But then, like I mentioned, the weekend of May 30th, we have about 14 guys that are visiting, one of which has already committed. But of course, we have Chris Booker, who had already committed back in February of this year. We have a wide receiver, 4-star wide receiver, Ethan Feaster, Xavier Tiller, which is a tight end. And of course, Coach DeBoer mentioned how, that's a position where we've been kind of thin. You also have Mark Bowman. I know, Dan, you've mentioned him. Deacon Smith, who's one of the offensive linemen, and that's just on offense. But then we have Sincere Johnson. That's a guy, linebacker, who we've talked about here a few times. And that's someone that we mentioned how just his style of play, he's very versatile. And I believe that's someone that Kane Womack can kind of put maybe at that wolf position or just kind of, play around and put him in different positions. And then we also have Braden Rouse, another linebacker who's visiting that weekend. You have edge KJ Ford from Duncanville, of course, the same school that Keelan Russell played. You have the safety Jet Washington from Vegas. He's rated as one of the top players in Vegas. And it kind of seems like with him, it's going to come down between Alabama and Oregon. So if he wants to stay out there on the West Coast, probably, maybe Oregon. But, that's another safety that we could look into. There is a guy, though, because we always talk about here how Alabama, we need to be winning in State. There is a guy, and he's a 3-star, but we just talked about how does that really matter when it really comes down to, what they do and their how they produce on the field. Defensive lineman Tyson Bacon. He's from Hoover, Alabama, 6'3", 263 pounds. We were one of his, I believe we're his first, one of his first scheduled visits. So between Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. And so hopefully we can get him. I think, it just depends on how he feels. And, we talk about that tradition. If he grew up watching Alabama, we'll see what happens with him. There's another defensive lineman, Nolan Wilson, 4-star, another guy that we could maybe look into from the state of Mississippi, rated as the 3rd best player in the state of Mississippi. He has a few back-to-back schools that he's visiting this weekend. So we'll see about him. And then 2 other defensive linemen, JJ Finch and then Titan Davis. So I don't know. I feel like JJ Finch, he's rated really high. He's from the state of Indiana. We're one of his 4 scheduled visits. He also has Purdue, Florida, and Tennessee. And then we also have, like I said, Titan Davis from Missouri, 6'5", 240 pounds, rated as the 2nd best player in the state. So I'm gonna leave it there. I know I said a lot of names, but it's that particular weekend. We have so many guys coming out. Y'all mentioned like guys like Derrek Cooper and just that December 9th, December 6th time frame where right now it's just a couple guys. But you look at that weekend is loaded, so I'm curious to see what happens. But I want to get y'all's takes. I'll start with you, JB. Any of those names that stand out to you in particular? Because we've talked about Sincere Johnson, right? We've talked about, Ethan or certain critical positions, tight end, maybe that defensive line position, or KJ Ford on edge. So what are your thoughts, and who do you feel like we have a better chance of getting a solid commit the quickest, if that makes sense?
You know what? That's a tough question. I don't know who we have the better chance of getting, but I know we need tight ends, right? Yeah, we need some tight ends. I know they stressed that over the spring about our tight ends being banged up, not available. I think we recruited pretty well this past recruiting cycle with tight ends, with Marshall Pritchard and what's the other, Caleb Edwards. But we have to, hopefully they can work out, and we won't have such a need for tight ends. But if we can just get some in here and get them on campus, and let's see if we need another tight end. Bama's tight ends have been, I don't want to say bad. They haven't been great like the O.J. Howards and the Irv Smith Jr.'s. We kind of missed that. We need a tight end that can go out there and be a game changer. And we haven't had that lately, Blocking tight ends are cool. Tight end to pick up a first down, but we need some game changers. So hopefully we can grab a tight end. You mentioned Sincere Johnson. We was talking about him a while back. I'd like to have him on deck too. And I know all of those guys that are going to come in, we got to get some on. We leaving here with something. Like Denzel say, I'm leaving here with something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know about y'all. Yeah, hey, somebody got to commit. Why would you have all those guys come in at the same time and nobody commit?
I know y'all ain't fly all those guys.
Yeah.
Y'all better line up on that field. Somebody commit today.
Yeah. Right. Hey,
call your mama.
We plenty on wide receiver, but tight end, that's different. That's different now.
Hey, tell him, call your mama, let her know you ain't coming back because you found home. Okay. And no, you're right. I agree with what you said. And it's something about that weekend. I don't know if it's just the guys' availability, whatever they have going on there. Like you said, we come on with something. We get somebody. Yeah. I want to your takes too, Dan, because of course you're the lead recruiting analyst. I want to know your take on some of the guys that I just mentioned, but also in particular, the wide receiver, Ethan Booby Feaster. I always want to say Feaster, because he's from Texas and he was a part of the 2027 class, and he reclassified to 2026. And I know that they're saying that he's trending more towards Texas A&M. He's supposed to make his decision around the 4th of July. But what are your thoughts on the guys that I mentioned, and how do you feel about that big weekend coming up at the end of May?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to cover in a short amount of time. But as far as Booby, yeah, I think Alabama has ground to make up. I think we trail the likes of A&M, LSU. So, but that's why visits, you got the where we are pre-visit and where we are post-visit. So getting them on campus is huge, especially for official visit. Alabama is not going to take official visit for guys that they don't believe they could land if they push and they see it's a fit. They're not gonna like. On that note, Mark Bowman, his visit was canceled. They called it mutual partner ways.
Mm-hmm.
Bama is fine with the decision, so it was a little bit of both sides. I mean, Alabama, got other targets they like, and they're not, the NIL aspect of it is just a range that we're not going to go at right now, for guys, because we are not willing to do that, because we are Alabama, and we're not going to pay guys more than what guys that are already on campus, putting in work are making. So if that makes sense. But JD, I'm gonna tell you one thing about receiving threat tight ends. Mm-hmm. They pretty to look at, what I'm saying? But we won championships. You give me the Michael Williams, OJ Howard's a nice, the OJ Howard, the Irv Smiths. But man,
Michael Williams.
You give me those Michael Williams, man. You give me the Hale Hitches, you give me those guys, that get out there and block in space. That's the biggest value a tight end will bring. Of course, be a receiving threat every now and then on third down possession receiver, but you want guys on the edge that can block the DBs, the safeties, the linebackers. You want guys that can help out, on the D ends. So those inline blocking tight ends that you can flex out every now and then. You want guys, that can block in space, and that's what why we're going the types of tight ends that we're going after. So that's the most important thing, especially in this offense. What a tight end can do is to be able to block in space. So
yeah,
that's what you want to look. You don't have to pay crazy amount for a guy that like a Darnell Washington that is going to catch you 2 targets a game. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
You want guys that can move and block in space. What I'm trying to get at. But as far as back to the recruiting weekends, man, you want to get the guys on campus and go from there. You want to talk to them. Alabama they got a whole presentation that they give recruits. They sell them on they get a complete view of what they'll be experiencing at University of Alabama. Alabama is also finding out about the kid. They decide if they want, they evaluate, they see you on film, they like your film, but it's also like, you're interviewing, people for a job. You want to see if they're a right fit for your team. Yeah. You want to evaluate them. You want to meet the family. And sometimes it happens, it will happen in recruiting, believe it or not. You get this 5-star, you be like, I don't want them around my program,
Mm-hmm.
And you want to bring like-minded guys in on a recruiting weekend. You want to have your best recruiters in your class, and you want to have the right people around them. You're like, yeah, they'll work out together. So you want to follow those big recruit weekends, see how guys interact with one another, see who's coming back for multiple visits, to help recruit and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, that's where recruiting really gets fun, so you get them on campus and you go from there.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when you mentioned Michael Williams, it reminded me of that LSU game when we so-called lost to them 9-6 at home, and that play. And I think he that was against was it Honey Badger LSU?
Yeah.
Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll never forget that play. I mean, anyway, let's not go back down. Yeah, because
so Dan, basically you saying we need some nasty athletic dogs.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, I feel you. I like that.
You want those guys on them crackback.
Hey, so
I thought the crackback was illegal.
when they make those in-home,
it's still effective though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I always be in the player mind. Don't take but one. We'll take those 15 yards.
No, that's you're right though, and honestly, we really should have seen more from CJ Dupree. I think. I mean, we had some guys. It's just
Right.
Robbie Oats is one of one though. We're gonna miss Robbie Oats.
Yeah.
Out of unsung hero, you had nice wonders. We had some great ones, man. Yep. We had really great ones on campus.
We did. Well, before we switch gears and talk about basketball, we do want to shout out one of our other sponsors, whitwillsports.com. We always tell you that your game day is not the same without a title towel. Be sure to visit whitwillsports.com, and we have their website below in the banner, and use promo code standard for an exclusive discount. So shout out to them, always showing love. We really appreciate it. Now, I want to talk about yeah. Make sure y'all order y'all still so you have it in time for the season. Yeah, because y'all know some of them games. I think they had just announced the time of our game against Florida State at Florida State, which is what 2:30 Central. So y'all gonna want that towel because it's gonna be a little hot. So
I'm taking mine down now. Probably one across my neck like this, and another one for my face to wipe the sweat off.
Like I usually don't go to away games because I know how I am, and I just know my grandma when my uncle was playing, she told me so many stories of like the away games that she would go to, and particularly LSU because they have some of the worst fans, and just some altercations that she got into with fans because they were running their mouth, and she, up there cheering for her son, so I'm just like, I don't, because I know how I can get, and you better believe you won't see me in no Jordan hair. Like they couldn't.
Man, I'm in some bad places, man. I'm talking about for real.
Because I already know what time it is. Like, no, absolutely not. Well, let's move on and talk about basketball. There's a lot of news in terms of the transfer portal and just what we're looking like as far as the guys that are returning. And then also something about Grant Nelson that I wanted to mention. But, coming off of March Madness and, we had some guys that hit the transfer portal, a few guys that entered the draft. We did pick up a few guys from the portal, and some of them we've talked about over the last few weeks. But, of course, the center, Noah Williamson, the guard, Jaleel Bethea, the forward, Taylor Bowen, and then the forward, Keaton Bristow. He was the most recent guy that we got out of the portal. And so those are 4 new additions that we have coming into Alabama. But then, of course, we had some that announced that they were returning. So you also had Aiden Sherrill, Aiden Holloway, Latrell Whitesell, and then Houston Millett. And then, of course, some incoming freshmen. So the question that we have, and drop your comments in the chat, do you feel like our current roster or the roster going into this upcoming season, do you feel like this is a roster that can win, that can go all the way? Next year we have London Jemison coming in this upcoming season, Davion Hannah, and then Amari Allen. So what are your thoughts on what this roster is looking like? And JB, I'll start with you on this one. How do you feel? Like it's a lot of moving and shaking, but I mean, that kind of happened last year as well. So how do you feel with this roster?
Well, first things first, LeBaron Fallon's not coming back. I know a lot of fans had hope that he would go to the draft combine. It was a report came that he wasn't working out at the draft combine. He wasn't playing 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean anything. He was on record today saying, I'm locked in for the NBA draft. I'm not coming back to Alabama. Mm-hmm. And he said they know this. So this is not breaking news to the insiders, but to the fans who was hoping that he would come back, he's not coming back. Yeah. So I feel like that right there is a blow. We need a point guard. Looking at the roster, I mean, Aiden Holloway coming back is fine. He can shoot the ball. Small guard though. Mm-hmm, but Jaleel Bethea 6'5". Hopefully he can come in and make an impact. He played at Miami some. He was a freshman last year, 5-star recruit. But what these guys that's coming in, the 4 transfers coming in, whatever they did at their other school, the previous school, we had one guy from Tarleton State. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be on record and say I'm not impressed. This is going to be Nate Oats' probably his hardest coaching job coming up this season. We already have like 2 or 3 roster spots we have to fill. And just looking at the roster, I don't know who's going to be the lead dog. And we going back and look at what we just lost. Grant Nelson, Mark Sears. Yes. I mean, 2 great college players. They even came back an extra year to see if we can get back to the Final Four and chase that natty. Fell short, but it was a hell of an effort.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, these guys here coming in here, we don't have a point guard. God bless Latrell Whitesell, man. He's coming back one more time to give it another try. He's been getting injured for the past 2 years, But I love Latrell Rice, man. He seems like a great kid. We don't know if he's gonna go back to his greatness coming off those injuries. He can shoot the rock, but we need. I mean, man, I feel like Bama has been so close. When we had Brandon Miller, if you guys remember, we had Brandon Miller. It's like when we get the guys that's the Colin Sextons, the Brandon Millers. Who else was one and done out of Bama? I'm trying to think. J.D. Davidson.
Primo. Jai Primo. You know? Yeah,
Primo. I mean, Noah Clowney. And then now we got Fallon. So those guys that come in as 5 stars and then they go one and done, you have to replace them very quickly. So it's kind of hard to be like a UConn that just keeps talent. They have fresh, they have juniors and seniors, team full of juniors and seniors, and they went back-to-back championship.
Yeah.
But then you got Florida team that won it this year. A lot of talent on that team. Yeah. But now you looking now, man, we going to the portal. We got 3 freshmen coming in. They're not 5 stars. I don't expect any of those guys to be one and done. But Nate's gonna have a job on his hands, and we got to get us a point guard. I mean, it's rumors out there about Boogie Flan, and we not gonna pay Boogie Flan no $4 million.
No.
So we might as well gonna get that out of the way. No, Bama's not paying no guy $4 million. Not for basketball.
No basketball. We not.
No, we're not doing that. So I mean, Nate's gonna have to and we got some good questions. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to some questions I see in the chat, but this is gonna be difficult. And I watched Nate talk today at the golf tournament thing, and he looked concerned to me. he looked to me. He did really. He looked concerned. He said some good things about the guys coming in, but boy, you got to coach these guys up.
You like, really I hear what you're saying, but you know,
yeah, man, you got to coach them up. I mean, that 7-footer we got, Noah Wilson. He played at
Bucknell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, use the SEC ball coming in. You playing against some big dogs. They're gonna be physical.
Listen, JB. You know what I'm saying? Where did Mark Sears come from?
That's right, but he was a small guy. I'm talking about a big man. So yeah, and then Grant Nelson also come from South. So you got a point there. You got a point there. But Nate has a knack of recruiting guys because he came from Buffalo, so he knows how to go out there and recruit guys that other teams really don't look for. Maybe find a couple of diamonds in the roughs. But I know it's early. I know it's only May, and we got a whole summer and fall to go. But looking at the roster, I don't know. I don't know if we can compete for it.
I mean, you got more coming in 7 feet tall. You got Taylor coming in from Florida State, 6'10". Keaton from Tarleton, 6'8". I mean, but I see what you're saying. It's just it may be one of those seasons where they got to show us something. They got to show us something.
I want to see it. I mean, you got to show me. I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna get my hopes up on Bama. I got my hopes up the year before. I really thought we had it that year before.
Yeah.
This past season, I already knew. I mean, it's hard to get back to the Final Four and win it. It's hard.
It's one there. It's one thing to get there. It's another thing to win. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I wasn't as disappointed as many people that we lost that game to Duke. I mean, but yeah, this is gonna be tough for Nate Oats this season. I believe.
Yeah, I think he knows that too. Dan, what are your thoughts on this roster?
Let me tell you something, man. I'm not ready to hit the panic button like my brother there. But let me tell you this. Point guard in this offense is overrated. Point guard. You can start the offense without a point guard. In this system, it's based on floor spacing and being able to dribble, drive. You know what I'm saying? So, we started the offense. When we went to the Final Four, we started a lot of the offensive series with Grant Nelson. You know what I'm saying? So, it's about finding matchups. Anybody bring the ball up the floor. We seen Jaron Stevenson do it a couple of times. So one thing that I will say that this got me really excited here is that I think we improved our perimeter shooting from our big guys. So that's where Stevenson kind of struggled at. We weren't able to stretch the floor, and Grant Nelson himself, he was inconsistent at times. And I think we really improved in that aspect. You know, so that for that reason alone, I'm excited. You know, Nate Oats can really run his offense with the team that he's assembling. You know, and another thing, you know, we had a guy on campus, you know, that I think is trending to Bama. You know, so don't worry, JB. You know, Keontae George. You know, 6'6" transfer from Cal State Northridge. You know, he's 6'6" guard. You know, he can play the 1, 2, and 3. Plays above the rim. Very physical. Gives us that perimeter defender with size. You know, so that's what we struggled at this year. You know, and Noah Williamson. Let me tell you about this. You know, he's a 7-footer, which you like. You know, he's not the big shot blocker that Cliff was. But let me tell you where I think he's going to bring value. You know, he can stretch the floor better than Cliff, and I think he has more girth. He's 7 foot, 250 plus. You know, so he won't be able to be moved around in the paint, and that's very, very, especially on the defensive end. You know, that's where Cliff struggled. You know, he was supposed to relieve Grant Nelson of that this year. You know, but I think Cliff got pushed around a little too much in the paint. And I like it. You know, Grant Nelson did a better job holding up down in the last year, but he got beat up for it. You know what I'm saying? I was excited. You know, I would rather had, you know, Grant Nelson had Noah Williamson this year. You know what I'm saying? That would have been fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know, I think we helped the roster with that, but Taylor Bowen, you know, a 6'10" and a half guy that can shoot. And Nate Oats said, quote, he's the best weak side rim protector that he has seen. So that says a lot, you know what I'm saying? So when we get beat off the dribble, he's somebody that can come over and help, you know. So I'm excited. We still have the shot blocking capability, you know what I'm saying? I was always concerned about the length on the perimeter, you know, as bodying up our smaller guards. You know, you get Wright, Sale, Holloway, and you had Sears on the floor at the same time. I was worried. You know, the guys, they back them down, whatever, getting mismatched. They get stuck on a 4 or 5, you know what I'm saying? And it created a lot of problems, you know. So, you know, with us being able to improve on that, you know, I think that'll determine how successful of a season we'll have.
Yeah.
We need that big guard. We need that big guard that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely need Keontae George. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get them. Y'all, like we mentioned, in about maybe 10 minutes, we'll have our Q&A. So last minute, get your questions in. We did see a few that came in, but speaking of Grant Nelson, I want to mention him because it was announced that he actually just made NBA Combine history. He was recorded to have the fastest time in NBA Combine history, coming in at about 2.58 seconds in the shuttle run. So I saw that. I was like, okay, it comes down to the one word that we've been saying this entire show: greatness. And we try to tell these haters, say, get up in our live chat, like Alabama, like y'all, you can buy whoever you want to buy, but at the end of the day, greatness doesn't have to pay for it. It's just who you are, right? Like you can't buy greatness. And that kind of falls into what a standard is, right? So, I mean, you know. Anywho, shout out to Grant Nelson. But speaking of
Mark Sears put on the show yesterday too.
Right.
Yeah, he was lighting it up with all the shooting drills. He was at the top of all the drills.
Right.
One word, greatness, because then you see the Auburn guy who's sitting up there.
Oh man, that was pathetic. Yeah.
I'm like, as big as you are, I mean, just but he was a representation. That's what I'm saying. But he was a representation of Auburn.
Now he had some bricks in his back pocket.
That's nasty. If that's what you're insinuating, that's disgusting. But that's how he jumped, though. I mean, y'all.
Oh man.
Anywho, we talking about Drake's little brother over there that play at Auburn. I mean, he looked like he wasn't even trying in that video. Like he didn't want to even be there.
That was the highest he can get.
Yeah, he wasn't motivated at all.
He's not above the rim player. That's the highest he can get.
But he made.
If he gets drafted, it's gonna be late second round.
Then after he just walked up like, oh, well.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like he literally, it was one or two things. Either he didn't want to be there, or he
did not want to be there. Yeah, he was uninspired on that jump attempt. Yeah,
or he felt like he was too good, almost like I shouldn't even be. You know what I'm saying? Like it was one of the two, but I'm going with the first one because y'all got to look that video up. Like,
yeah, look up Janai Broom jumping at the combine, and y'all see what we talking about.
And I know he got a text from Drake, like, bro. Little bro, you could have stayed at home. You could have came back to Canada doing all that.
That's one thing you don't want to go viral for, something like that.
I mean, that
was horrible.
Beautiful. And I literally burst out laughing, like, come on now.
And then you have to wonder, you know you can't jump, right? So who in the world advised you to go and perform that?
He could have skipped it. He didn't have to do it.
Exactly.
He didn't have to do it. If you're gonna do it, be inspired, And that was horrible.
So beautiful. You know what that reminded me of? Uiagalelei when he was a QB at Florida State. What was it when they played Boston College? The way he was throwing that ball, almost like he was. It almost like he was like, "I told y'all I didn't want to play in the first place." Like that's literally the level of effort that it looked like.
Right.
I don't know. That was pitiful. Anywho, speaking of basketball, it has been announced that we have a huge game in November. Alabama will be facing St. John. They'll, of course, be hosting Alabama, but we'll be playing in the Madison Square Garden. Now, this is going to be huge, and this is, I believe, the 5th time that we're playing them. So the 4-game series so far where we've played them is actually tied 2-2. And so, and they said each game that we played, the game has been determined by 8 points or less. So this is going to be a huge game. And over the course of about 40 years, we've only, played them 4 times, but we'll be playing them on November 8th, Madison Square Garden. But then they also put us on the schedule for 2026 and 2027 season in Birmingham. So where do y'all thought? I'll start with you, Dan. How do you feel about this game and the fact that it's announced now? It's one of our non-conference games, Madison Square Garden. We know it go down in there. How do you feel about this matchup?
Man, I'm so excited for them to be playing at the home of my New York Knickerbockers. My 3-1 New York Knickerbockers.
Anyway.
Home of the Jalen 39-point Brunson. We're closing it out tomorrow night, y'all.
Y'all think y'all closing out tomorrow night?
So, I just hope we go there and show out, show them that Southern love. You know what I'm saying? Let's show them how we do it down at the bottom, y'all. Let's get up to Madison Square Garden and show out. Let's be Bama.
Yeah.
Only you have great moments. You have Kobe moments there. You have the Jordan moments there. A lot of great things happen in Madison Square Garden. Let's go there, y'all.
Yeah. See, y'all weren't excited like this when I was reminding y'all of that 2008 matchup between the Lakers and the Celtics. I mean, everybody was whining and crying. Y'all didn't want to talk about that, but we excited about the Knicks. It's all good. 131-92, game 6. Play with it if you want to. Play with it if you want to. That game goes down in history. I'm gonna keep talking about it because if you want to see greatness, that Celtic Doc Rivers, what he did with that. Anywho, JV, what are your thoughts on this? Huh?
You sound like my brother Chris. He's Celtics fanatic.
I mean, y'all just got to go back. Y'all just got to watch. I mean, Kobe Bryant, he did his thing, but you can't put Kevin Garnett on the same team with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo. Play if you want to. Eddie House, Kendrick Perkins, and I think Nate Robinson, when he was on that team too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anywho, JV.
Former Nate Robinson, yeah, by the way.
Well, I'm just saying, that we talk about greatness, that team was. Anywho, JB, what are your thoughts on this matchup? How do you feel about it?
Well, I got 2 questions. For one, is Spike Lee gonna be at the game? Because he always shows up in the Garden.
I think he will be.
If the Knicks ain't playing in there, he's gonna probably be there. And we're playing against a Rick Pitino.
Yeah,
Rick Pitino's the coach. I just thought about that. So, I mean, St. John's made a run in the tournament. They had a great season last year. But I mean, this is a good marquee matchup. And my other question is, this is the same day that Bama plays LSU in football. So
I mean, then it's 2 W's. I mean,
they got to schedule this thing right now. Hold on, because Bama LSU normally play at night. Yeah. This game better be at high noon. Well, you got to schedule this thing right.
A lot of times though, when LSU come to us, they we play them in the afternoon.
And they're like 3:30 when
every time we go there.
I think
Yeah, I mean, the last time we played them, it was at night. The last couple times I played LSU, I mean, we played LSU down here. I was there. They played at night.
Maybe one up.
But hopefully this game is it. Hopefully they see the schedule. You look at the schedule, you see Alabama football, and we all the basketball team has been great, but football is still king around here. And you cannot schedule no game like this on the same game you got Bama LSU. You better schedule this thing in the daytime and Bama LSU at night, and then it'll be all good. We can watch the basketball game and go to the football.
And you go and choose.
You better not schedule a funeral when Bama playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
No funeral, none of that.
Don't give birth. Don't do nothing.
A day
don't
later.
Celebrate your birthday.
Hey, bury them all. Bury them all.
I know. Yep. I know.
He ain't going nowhere.
Bury them all.
What'd you say?
My folks already know. You know what I'm saying? If I go in the ground, you better not have my friend when Bama playing. You know what I'm saying? You better prop me up in front of that TV when the Crimson Tide playing.
Man, what? No, that's a good point though. That's something that they'll definitely have to consider.
And Nick's bowling game tied up right now. Shouts out from. Is it halftime?
All right. And then before we jump into the Q&A, because we are kind of running out of time, but we had a lot to talk about tonight. We do want to mention, because we talked about, we talked about basketball. We talked about the greatness of, 2 of our former athletes that were inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. But speaking of other sports, we wanted to talk about golf. The NCAA 2025 NCAA Reno Regional Tournament kicked off this Monday, and our guys are down there in Reno, Nevada, and our men's team, they actually were ranked number 16 going in. We were number 3 seed, and we have to give props to our head coach, Jay Sewell. This is actually our 19th regional appearance with him as our head coach, and so shout out to him. I know we don't talk about them a whole lot here and there, but shout out to them for making it. And then also to our baseball team, we dominated Georgia this past weekend. Of course, the series that we had with them started Friday, but it had to be postponed because of the weather. But we ended up playing them, and it was a 2-game series, and we dominated them 9-3 and then 5-4. But shout out to our pitcher, Carson Osmer. He actually transferred into Alabama from University of Pennsylvania. He actually set a record this weekend in our game against Georgia, recording the most saves in a single season. I think it's a total of 15. So he actually surpassed everybody else. But that's a record for Alabama. So shout out to them, both golf and baseball. Really quickly, JB, what are your thoughts? How do you feel? How do you feel about us? Golf, the head coach. This is our 19th regional appearance with him, and then of course with baseball, you have Osmer recording the most saves in a single season.
That's big right there, man. The baseball team has been showing out, and they got a kid on that team named LeBron too.
Yes,
true.
Yeah, Justin LeBron. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him. I keep up with the baseball on my social media, and I see he's done great, and I think he's going to be a
number 1 overall pick.
Yes, he is. Yes. So that's big for Alabama right there. That's another thing. When and this is the thing, when our Bama guys, no matter what sport, when they do great things, we should appreciate that, and we see that it does great for the school. And I mean, just like our golf team. It's great, and we've had great golfers that go on to be great. So it's always good to root for not only the football and the basketball, but baseball and beyond. I mean, everybody that's doing something great. Tennis, I
don't keep it slap boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Baccarat, whatever it is.
They wearing that script A. I mean,
I'm rooting for.
You expect
even the wheelchair basketball been putting belt to ass. I saw they beat Auburn. Yeah, I be keeping up with it.
They beat who?
Auburn. Belt to ass in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now look. Anyway, we're not gonna start our Auburn rants.
Yeah,
tonight.
well, you know,
they're not worth it. You know, they show up at the NBA combine like they don't even want to be there. I mean, it's just but Dan, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about our golf and our baseball?
Yeah, it's great to see, you know, because just this year, this offseason, we had a multi-million-dollar golf resort put in, and it's paying off. It's paying dividends already, you know, and hopefully we get back to, you know, championship level, you know, golf. And as far as the baseball team, man, if y'all haven't seen Justin LeBron, you know, this guy, man, 5'2", shortstop, a guy, you know, that can hit for average, hit for power, throw, catch, you know, 5'2" player, man, you know, and we better enjoy his time at the capstone. You know, he's something to see, man. And this you think about what went down with the baseball program and the prior regime, you know, it's amazing to see where we are right now. You know what I'm saying? We're trending in the right direction, you know what I'm saying? So it's you know, I'm very excited about the trajectory of the baseball program, but you know, we're gonna hopefully continue to get better, get the right guys into the system and everything, and you know, take our shot at a championship.
Yep, I agree. I mean, this is just gonna be a year of greatness. I'm calling it. It's gonna be football, but it's gonna be all the other sports as well. I mean, that's just who we are. Now let's get into our Q&A though, because I did see some questions come in. So let's see what we have. Saw a very interesting one that I'm looking forward to getting to. So, all right, shout out to this is the one. Shout out to Toughest Nails. What are the panel's favorite player of all time? I'll start mine first. I would have to go with. I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts. I mean, I know that, you know, of course, Alabama, you figure out which season how far back you want to go. We could go back to Sean Alexander, you know, different guys. But I mean, I would say Jalen Hurts, and I say that because, you know, I look at things holistically. So not just like how they perform on the field, but how do they adapt, right? Because when that adversity hits, I mean, look at what he went through. You know what I mean? Even going from Alabama to Oklahoma, what he went through his first season at, you know, the Eagles, Carson Wentz. I mean, it was just so much going on. And when you see someone come out on the other side of that and being refined the way that he was, I mean, to me, that's a that's storybook. That's something that everyone has to sit back and kind of, you know, like maybe examine. And I feel like you can learn from that. So I don't look at it just as like how they played on the field, which he did, because if I remember correctly, he's the first true freshman quarterback to play, right? So to start. And so I would go with Jalen Hurts. What y'all got?
That's hard.
I'm Christian, brother. I'm gonna have to go last. I'm because I got a few. Mine changed over time. I'm gonna go ahead and go, man, because it started with me, man. Let me tell you that 92. I tell this story all the time. That 92 team, man, George T. You know, he was my favorite player on that team. Him and Deuce. You know what I'm saying? I loved it. But George T. Then when he went on the league, I followed him, man. That hit he put on when Terrell Owens tried to desecrate the star. You know, T wasn't happy. I said, that's my guy. But I ran out in the front yard. You know what I'm saying? I was pumped. You know, but throughout the years, man, when Chris was playing, my favorite player on the team, man, was Freddie Millens. You know, then, you know, we go on throughout the years, you know, like you said, Jalen Hurts, man, just because of what he went through and represented the program. Then, man, it was Landon Dickerson. I love me some Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
I loved him. Then, you know, my latest one, man, I have to say Terrion Arnold.
I mean, I thought we were naming one. You're gonna name about 10.
Yeah,
but you can't name just one though.
You can't, you know, so many of them that you know, I really love their personality and what they brought in, you know, the way to represent the program. And I can't go without saying, you know, Mark Ingram as well, man.
Yeah.
I love the gump that's biggest gump in me. You know what I'm saying? I love that.
Yeah. We can't forget about that wide receiver group that we had. I believe it was the 2020 national championship. Was that the one? Was it the Henry Ruggs, Mechie, Devontae Smith, or was that the 2018 era?
I think that was 2019. I think 2018, 2019 or something like that.
Yeah.
I know Tua was the quarterback.
Okay, so then that would have been the 2018, 2019. Yeah,
Tua was the quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you say, you can't just name one. I mean, you can go to Marcel Darius if you want to. You can go back to Terrence Cody when he blocked that kick when we played Tennessee.
Yeah, boy.
Right. I mean, how do you how you pick one?
Man, it said player, not players. But since you did it, because I was gonna say Derrick Henry, but man, Trent Richardson, man, Trent, run. Yeah. They just say run, Trent, run. Boy,
He can be stopped.
Man, listen, Trent was something. He was something to be reckoned with, boy.
Yes.
Yeah. Derrick Henry too, though.
I say Derrick Henry too, and I got Derrick Henry. I mean, the way he won that Heisman year, if you guys remember, everybody was talking about Leonard Fournette, and it all started when Fournette played Bama, and we had him to 33 yards.
Look,
and guess who took the Heisman that day? Derrick Henry, point on, 150 yards, 200, 220. Derrick Henry was killing him.
He was killing him.
Clean over.
Man, Fournette was up there trying to figure out what he looking like. What just happened?
Boy, Fournette, he couldn't do nothing with us.
Everybody was getting something. Everybody was getting them. But
I mean, he talk all that noise on social media, but the 2 times he played, he didn't even total 100 yards those 2 games.
Everybody wanted it.
Yeah.
Couldn't go nowhere.
And I like the running backs, I mean, man. But if I Bryce Young, man, I mean, I wish that kid would have won a national championship. That's one player I wish would have won a national championship.
Well, he got a ring, but he got a ring.
But he needed to be the man behind the, Right. But man, we were so close though. I still go back to that Georgia. He had no receivers. He had no help really. But man, Bryce Young, one of the coolest. And I follow Bryce. Like I root for the Panthers now because of Bryce. Yeah. He's my new favorite player. But
But Mac Jones was something special too, though, because when you think about guys who literally waited their turn, and when their number was called, I mean, we won that 2020 national championship with him, and so he's one of those. Will Ty Simpson be one?
Right, there you go.
There you go. I was waiting in that. Don't want to put all that pressure on Ty, but we need it, bro. This is the year.
We're gonna put that pressure on him. I mean,
this the year.
All right.
That's all I hit that little slant rap.
All right. Okay. And then from all this talking about Alabama football, I'm ready for the season to start now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing other names that comes up as far as recruits, because like y'all said before, you can't really get super excited anymore when they so-called commit, because then we got another offer right around the corner, and so but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the recruits. I think that I told y'all a few weeks ago, Alabama winning the Natty. And it's just, go ahead and make them t-shirts, get that confetti ready. Go ahead and make them t-shirts. It's just go ahead and make them hats. Go ahead and what we waiting for? Cause who gonna beat Alabama? And I'm not saying that to be like, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's hungry at this point. You got guys coming in saying that, since I was a child, I wanted to play at Alabama. You got Ryan Williams. Come on, you ain't shutting down Hollywood. You're not shutting down Hollywood. That's what I'm saying. You got these teams running their mouths, but at the end of the day, you have to buy players for them to come there. You know what I'm saying? It's a huge difference. That's not nothing to be proud of. So I don't know, man. But I feel like this year is gonna be something special. I know we said that last year. Coach DeBoer's first year. You see how that went. We got Coach Grubb. I think it's gonna be something special. So
I think it's time. Yeah,
it's definitely time.
Yeah.
All right. Crowell is the one I want. Yeah, man. And I feel like with guys like Crowell, those aren't, and we really don't know, but it's certain guys where I kind of feel like they can't be bought per se. I know sometimes when the price is right, maybe, but it's certain ones who still have that prototypical Alabama. You look at it like a Bo Scarborough. You look at the guys who, they wanted to play for Alabama when they were younger. They know the tradition, I think a lot of that is still out there. So I feel like he could potentially be one of those. I hope he's not one of those. No. If the price is right.
No, I don't. Yeah. No. He doesn't come off of that can.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good news. Oh, we can get him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Sarah Barker will be in the Bama Hall of Fame. Yeah, she needs to be in if anybody's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, she needs to be in there for sure.
I mean, after that performance she did, that her final game, I mean, that right there, that's a Hall of Fame worthy performance, even though we lost the game. But I think she's gonna be great in the WNBA. She's gonna have a great career.
Yeah. She definitely is. Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking through the chat. I know Justin isn't on tonight, so he won't be able to give his. I saw someone ask for his favorite players.
Oh
yeah, he won't be able to give his. Will Nate get any more guys? Only have 11 guys now. Yeah, I mean and Dan, you mentioned one of the guys. Yeah.
George, we still got then, so he's still evaluating, so don't panic, don't panic.
Yeah.
They had to talk me off the ledge. I was getting ready to panic.
Can he shoot free throws? The 7 foot. You talking about
he can, he's decent. Yeah.
Okay.
Which one you talking about? Not Noah, the one that you mentioned that was
Noah Williamson.
Noah. Yeah. And didn't he averaged what, like 17 points per game or something like that?
He averaged 17.6 points.
It was and about almost 8 rebounds per game. I mean, I understand that he played at Bucknell, but at the same time, I mean, he was productive.
We want size, you know what I'm saying? We want size to be able to go against them 7 foot deal that Florida ran out at us, man. Yeah, you want a big guy that can handle himself, you know what I'm saying? You want a guy that can handle the Zach Edey's, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you need a big guy.
Space that floor too, Dan, like you mentioned. He
gives us both that,
Gotta
love it,
That's right.
Yeah, Deuce Palmer he was one of the greats. All right, Chris Camp, that live by 3, die by 3 ain't gonna get us all the way. We gotta be solid in all aspects. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, Nate Oats, he's a mathematician, so he's a math guy. He's proven that that can be better effective. Or what do you want to go back to? Holding the ball. The Anthony Grant system. If you want to go back to that, we can. You know what I'm saying? But trust me, I ain't ready to go back to that. So
no.
Drain the shot and sometimes don't even get a shot off. No, you want as many attempts at the basket. I'm okay with it.
And the key, from watching this Nate Oats, these past 6 years or whatever. The key to this working is you got to get rebounds. You're going to shoot the ball, but those extra possessions. And that's why Auburn was really killing us at rebounding, man. They get so many extra shots. That's really key.
And you want to put up volume, but you got to get stops when you need it. That's why you need big role players down the street when it comes to possession games. You need guys like that, you know what I'm saying? But you give me this system all day. It's proven it can be very effective.
And that's the only thing. I mean, it's so effective and it's so good that Nate's gonna be getting calls from the NBA.
And weren't there rumors last year about him going to the NBA, right? He shut it down, if I remember correctly.
I heard the Charlotte Hornets wanted them.
It's rumor with every job opening with Nate Oats. It starts with him. You know what I'm saying? He don't really want to be at Bama. Bama's football school. Nate Oats. You know what I'm saying? People are wishing Nate Oats to get out the SEC.
Because they don't want to see Bama be great. That's what it is.
But it is just is what it is, because that's who we are. Like, we about to do some things this year. We're going and hopefully, I mean, maybe the basketball team, maybe it'll surprise us. We'll see whatever they got cooking. Nick could coach the golf team. He could rant on the court. Well, tell him make sure they execute. And he like to.
I told you to use the wedge.
Could you imagine Nick Saban coaching the golf?
I actually could.
Me too. Yeah, that's his laid back.
Yeah, walking on that golf course.
He'll still find a way to cuss somebody out, though.
I know.
Yeah, he'll find a way.
Come on.
When we had Antonio on last week, and he was talking about when he was with the Browns, or how Coach Saban was worse when he was his DB coach there. I was like, man, like what was he doing?
Saban was a young stallion with the Browns. Now, he was a why?
Yeah, but I mean, it worked. Like you said, he's a teacher, and well respected for sure. Yeah. All right.
Well, I think we got one more that Deuce pumped me.
Deuce Palmer was the most exciting player we ever had. Bro was something special. We probably never see. Yeah, he was definitely something special.
We did, and that was Jalen Waddle. See, Chris didn't remember Deuce, like I did, man. And Chris was like, man, we never seen nobody like Jalen Waddle, man. I said, man, listen. You know what I'm saying? I had to show him highlight. I said, listen here, brother. We had that here before. You were too young to see it. That Deuce, man, yeah, he probably number one, then followed by, Jalen Waddle. Exciting. Yeah.
And of course played, during in a different system to some degree. You know what I mean? But that's the name that I missed when we were talking about that core of receivers: Jalen Waddle, Mechie, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, and Devontae Smith.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
But honestly, I could see us having something like that this year. I mean, you got Ryan Williams, you got Isaiah Horton coming in, not to mention the freshman, Latsier Brooks, Derek Meadows. So we'll see what they do. But I mean, we got some guys, Jalen Hill coming back healthy, Cole Adams.
So important in recruiting class. Ryan Williams, guys like that,
Yeah. But that 2019, going back to that 2019 team, if Tua wouldn't have got hurt, I feel like we win a natty. I mean, I know LSU won it, but I was at that game when we played LSU and Tua was hurt. He was slinging that ball all over the field with one ankle.
Yeah.
A game.
That was a good. Well, honestly, it was nice to see LSU beat Clemson in that natty. So they were good that year, but we did our thing. Like you said, had Tua not gotten hurt, it would have looked a little different. So yeah. Did y'all block Chris Williams? He hadn't been trolling. Yeah, we've been talking about that. We hadn't seen him in a minute.
I guess Chris off because it's the off season. I guess he just went back in the hibernation.
Yeah. Well, he probably saw how Auburn showed up at the NBA Combine, and he like, man, I ain't even got nothing to talk about tonight.
We ain't really heard from him since we hurt their feelings at the end of basketball season. You know what I'm saying? He hadn't really been.
No, he sure hadn't.
We
he was talking noise when they beat us.
Ready. Yeah, he was ready, man. He was ready. Yeah. So
we told him what was going to happen. Like, don't get too comfortable. Don't get too excited.
Mm-hmm. When they win the off season again, like Auburn always do, when they win, they sign their next 5-star. He'll be back talking.
Yeah, well, we still need to get him to join as a guest to explain how they lost to Cal and New Mexico State and how their basketball team lost to Alabama State. He do all that talking, but don't want to talk about those L's. So, anywho. All right, well, let's jump into any social medias, any other shows. JB, I'll start with you. Any other shows that you wanna mention in any social media?
Yeah, Sports Talking with JB. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. About to rebrand a little bit, not rebrand, but just retool the page and get ready for the summer and the football season. But just go lock in, subscribe to the channel, Sports Talking with JB. Also, you can find me on Twitter X, young_ENT_, Instagram, Sports Talk JB, and Sunday Night Talking Bama, myself, JT, Herb, and Stephen M. Smith. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And right here with the fine folks on the Crimson Dynasty, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday nights.
All right. And then, Dan, what about you?
Yes, y'all can catch me on X at the Final Whistle Dan, on Instagram, Dan James IV. Now, some breaking news. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm still going to be on the network, but my role is going to be changing soon, so y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna be moving on more to the recruiting side of things, so y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna be focused on recruiting. We're gonna be doing player interviews, things like that, so I'm kind of be focusing on that right now. I've always enjoyed, I'm always a phone call away. They ain't want to hop on, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're really gonna get this thing going, so I'm gonna kind of step back away from the podcast thing right now and get more into the recruiting side of things, and be what Final Whistle Dan was brought here to be, so be
who you were created to be.
That's right.
Hey, do y'all do you have like any like times or any solid dates yet that you want to give them?
Not yet. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be. We got big things planned for the future. Talk about that at a later date. But it's transition period now. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of competitors out there, but listen, really gonna start trending really favorably for the Bama Standard Network, you know, and I want to be a part of that. You know, it's an opportunity that is too good to pass up right now.
Well, it'll be a lot to talk about. It'll be a lot to talk about pretty soon. All right. Well, any social media? And of course, we have enjoyed you here. You brought a lot of laughter, a lot of like awesome backgrounds, and you know, you've kept us rolling. So, but like you said, lead recruiting analyst on the network. So we do want to make sure that you're kind of, you know, honing in on your skills. And like, you know, we sit here, we talk about all these guys, but we really don't have the time to really go into detail. And we know that, you know, the viewers want to really learn about some of the guys. So that'll be awesome. All right. Any social media that you want to mention?
Oh yeah, I thought I did.
Or maybe you did.
Yeah. X, you know, Final Whistle Dan, Instagram Dan James 4.
And that's it. And then just like Jeff just said, Xavier Griffin. Yeah, I think Dan mentioned that too, that Griffin decommitted from USC today. So he's going to be visiting Alabama that same weekend, that second weekend in June. Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah. I mean, he may still come on sometimes as a guest. We may have him on with Stephen M. Smith as a guest from time to time. And, you know, because it'll be a lot of big things happening.
Post game shows and stuff like that. So, you know,
yeah. All right. And then you can find me here, of course, every Wednesday, unless we change the schedule. But right now, every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you can find me on X at official C'Chi, or Ronald, I'm gonna hit on his comment, but or you can find me on Instagram at beauty_of_intelligence. It's funny that Ronald says that, because we actually were saying that too. We were actually saying the same thing, because Linda P, she kind of been missing in action too, because you know she been kind of straightening him up. So yeah, that's what I think. Hey, they'll let us know. They're gonna drop it in the chat. Breaking news. All right. Sorry, yep, 5-star linebacker. All right. Well, that will do it for us. And so we will catch you all next week. And you'll see Dan every now and then when he, you know, drops in and gives us some updates on some recruits.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, be safe and roll tide, roll.
Roll Tide.
Whoa.